Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your NXT Takeover, our Evolution preview and predictions.
This has got to be the most apropos title for a live event special yet, because this brand has really evolved into something magnificent. It has evolved into the premier wrestling program, I think, available today, at least for my money. These guys
And really,
are
over the course of the last 3 months or so, you can honestly say that it has undergone a bit of a revolution.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the talent on NXT is just second to none, and I cannot tell you how much I am looking forward to this show. It is going to be insane.
Absolutely. And with that, John, do you have anything that you want to say before we get into actually discussing some of the matches on this card?
Dude, I want to get into discussing this with you, man. I have my teeth bared out. Let's get right into it.
All right, let's start with the one match that we know is going to happen that has no championship implications. Hideo Itami and Finn Balor versus the Ascension.
You know, Ashton, to me, this match is basic storytelling at its finest. You have somebody new come in. The guys that felt like they were king of the hill, that being, the Ascension, they come off of losing their tag titles, so they lost quite a bit of steam. They're looking, though, to keep their place cemented, so they pick on the new guy. It's a running theme for a few weeks. New guy doesn't take that crap. He stands up for himself, realizes, though, that courage only gets you so far, enlists some help. In steps Finn Balor, and we're on a collision course here. This should be a phenomenal tag team match. I love that they kept the story simple, and I think these guys, if this is the opening contest, which I don't know, I have a weird feeling it might be, it could be one hell of an opener.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be the opener, but there's a definitely, like you said, there's a very good chance that it could be, just because, like I said, it's the only match here that we have that doesn't have any championship implications.
Yeah, and you know what? I like that because I think it shows the confidence in NXT that says, hey, we can have good stories that don't revolve around championships being in the mix. I love that confidence. I
Yeah, and you know
really
what,
do.
dude? Let's establish here that the Ascension are fresh off having lost the tag titles, and they got their rematch and they lost it, and now they've moved on. They're not sticking around in the hunt. They're not, it's not one of those things where they're going to wrestle the champions every week, non-title, and wait until they win one to get a title shot. It's just no. They've separated themselves from that, and they've set their sights on something different, and I really appreciate that.
Let me ask you something, Ashton.
Sure.
Because I know at TLC, right, and that preview predictions will be coming a little bit later in the week. But we do have a little feud going between Eric Rowan and the Big Show, but that's just recently gotten underway. Really looking at this match, it's really gotten me to thinking, and I'm surprised I haven't thought about this already. But it really makes me think about how on the main roster we don't really get many storylines like this that don't have a championship involved or something relating to a championship like contendership status or something else. I think
Well,
it's just
what
really
about right now, Ambrose Wyatt?
well, yeah. You know what? You do have a point there. You do have a point there. Okay, so I really do have to give, I guess, the main roster more credit. But again, I do stand by that. I am glad that NXT has that confidence to branch out and not be so dependent on their championships. And I just, again, I really enjoyed how simple this feud has been, and I'm really looking forward to this matchup. Ultimately, for a winner, you got to go with the fresher guys. I say Hideo and Finn take it. But it's going to be a great matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I do think that the two new guys are going to take it. Honestly, dude, I'm going to go there. I would not be super surprised if this was a borderline squash match.
I wouldn't be surprised either, but here is
I don't I
my.
think NXT is smart enough to protect the Ascension, but honestly, man, the way that Balor and Hitami looked when Balor first debuted and they had their little segment with the Ascension, the little fight, and any time really that the four of these guys have been in the ring together, Itami and Balor have come out on top pretty significantly and pretty decisively.
I completely agree with you, dude. And here's my capping off question, because I've really said everything that I'm going to say about this match. I mean, is this going to be the last match for the Ascension? Because I think that's one of the bigger questions here. I mean, it's only a matter of time before they come to the main roster. Is this their little send off? Is my question.
Ah, as much as I wish it was for the sole purpose of I want them to be on the main roster. I don't think it is. I think they're going to get one more tag title shot before they leave, and whenever their next tag team championship match is, I fully expect for that to be their last, or maybe second to last. Maybe they'll go out on a high note, having beaten like a pair of jobbers or something the week after. But I feel like that right there is kind of like the, okay, now they're done, they're leaving kind of thing.
Very interesting. I could definitely see where you're coming from, because I think when you're
I
as
think, let me
dominant...
just put it this way. Regardless of what happens, and see, again, I shouldn't say that either. Assuming Itami and Balor win, I don't think that NXT would want to send the Ascension up to the main roster fresh off of a loss.
Right.
So I don't think this is their last match, no, on NXT.
All right, very interesting. I think, you know what, I'll have to agree with you. I like the reasoning you used there. It's just, I feel like it's been really speculated for a while now that quite a few talents, like our Evolution, is going to be their platform to just launch that next level. Though, depending on who you ask, maybe it's not a launch as much as it is a demotion, but that's another conversation.
Yeah, that's true. But I feel like, yeah, the Ascension, Sasha and Charlotte both, namely Charlotte, because she's probably going to drop the title and get called up, and Adrian Neville, who again I think is going to drop the title and get called up. But those four, or I guess those three entities, since the Ascension you can consider it as one, since they're a tag team,
right.
I think those are definitely the most likely to get a call up after this show. And frankly, I hope, oh, how great would this be? I hope the Ascension debuts the night after, and Neville debuts at the Rumble and sticks around.
Oh, yes, I love that idea. Definitely. I think Neville should definitely get one of those surprise entrance slots this year, but we'll talk more about Neville later.
Well, I mean, figure Rusev debuted at the last one. I think the Royal Rumble is going to be a really great tool for debuting NXT talents that are kind of in that spot where it's like, God, how long is it going to be before they finally call them up? It seems like they're so overdue, and boom, the Rumble happens and they show up, and it's like, okay, this is happening, now we're on a roll.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I think it's
well, and realistically, even going with that thinking, I think the Rumble is a really good place to initiate a feud for them too, because all somebody from NXT has to do is show up and eliminate one guy, and all of a sudden they have a program for the next month or two. Because that one guy is going to hold a grudge against them, because what's this new guy doing coming up in my territory and trying to take my job from me?
I mean, that's exactly what they did with Bo the first time around when he eliminated Wade Barrett from the Rumble. And then they had their brief mini feud. So, yeah, I mean, historically, you definitely have that evidence on your side. And I completely agree. But Neville's going to be an interesting discussion for later. Right now, though, we both agree Itami and Balor are coming away with the victory.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so now before we get into any of the championship matches, I actually wanted to talk about any kind of matches that we want to speculate about what might happen. And the first one that I'm going to throw out there that has been heavily rumored but hasn't actually been kind of locked in as a match that's going to happen for sure yet is Baron Corbin versus Bull Dempsey.
This is another one where, no championship implications of any kind, but the story is very simple, very, very straightforward. Who's the better monster? Who's the better big man, so to speak, between Bull Dempsey and Baron Corbin? The crowd, to me, has really made this feud. And this is where the NXT crowd, I think, really pays dividends because, I mean, one of the things that we love about Baron Corbin right now, they're doing the countdown clock for his matches. I think his latest time was 13 seconds. And Bull always puts his opponents away with a little bit of a longer time, like in the 20-second area. So he's kind of feeling a bit disgruntled, like Baron Corbin's coming in and he's being looked at as the new kind of bulldozer. So this would be a real collision course between these two guys. And yeah, personally, and I say this both because I think it would be amazing for Baron Corbin, and admittedly also because I don't really care much for Bull Dempsey. I would love to see Bull Dempsey just get destroyed in like 10 seconds or 8 seconds or somewhere around there, and have Baron really look impressive here.
Okay, I have a lot of thoughts. The first one that I want to get out there is, why is Bull Dempsey's name not Bulldozer Dempsey?
I don't know. Man,
they want to talk about how he's old school and he's the last of a dying breed. How old school does that sound? Bulldozer Dempsey. That sounds amazing.
You know what, dude? I mean, the more you keep saying it, the more the ring really appears to me. But maybe they were even throwing that back and forth somewhere, and they're like, no, I think people would find that stupid. So maybe they erred on the side of caution and just wanted to go Bull Dempsey.
The fact that people find it stupid would get him more heat. He's a heel.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man.
All right. I mean, maybe that's just like a next level thinking. The WWE doesn't realize that you can use that kind of thing to get heat. But the second thing that I really, really want to say is I don't think this match is going to happen on this show.
I would have to agree with you. I think if it was, I think NXT would have announced it. So,
Yeah, I think honestly, and this is kind of going out around what the typical thought would be. I think these guys are going to end up in a tag team.
you know what? That would really be something, wouldn't it?
I think that these guys are going to kind of like what happened with Bull and Mojo. I think these guys are going to be in a tag team, and one of them is going to, they're going to go undefeated for a little while, and then they're going to get a tag title shot, and one of them is going to get pinned in the tag title match. Obviously, they're not going to win the titles. And whoever doesn't get pinned is going to get so pissed off that he attacks the other guy and beats him down, and that's going to lead to them breaking up and build up to a big match at maybe the next live special, which would be the 1 year anniversary of NXT Arrival.
Yeah, I really wouldn't mind if they did that because I think this feud is really just starting to find its legs thanks to the crowd interaction and everything else, but we need more from the two guys in question. So I wouldn't have any qualms about them not hot-shotting it on this show and giving it more time to find itself for the next special. So I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah.
Um, if I may just take the ball for a second,
Yep.
because you reserved this segment for things that may happen, I wanted to talk to you very quickly, and I'm really glad you gave us the opening to do it, because we know during the pre-show, and this is something I've actually been looking forward to and keeping in the back of my mind, Corey Graves has a special announcement.
Yeah.
So what do you think he's going to announce? Do you think it's a personal in-ring return for him? Do you think maybe it's a new signing for NXT and maybe he's just kind of being an ambassador of
No,
sorts? Like, oh,
definitely
hey.
not that. Definitely not that.
I mean, what do you
I
think,
think
man?
it's going to be one of two things. It's either going to be him announcing his retirement from in-ring competition and talking about how he's going to become a trainer and that kind of stuff. Maybe he'll be like a referee or something. Or it's going to be the exact opposite. It's going to be him announcing when he's going to be returning to in-ring competition. Possibly, I mean, I highly doubt it, but if it's, you know what, I feel like they would have advertised it, but maybe they want it to be a surprise. Maybe he returns to in-ring action on this show, and maybe he squashes like CJ Parker or something like that.
Maybe. It's very interesting because you and I, on past TwitWow episodes, we've had lengthy discussions about Corey Graves. We've talked about the fan reaction to Corey Graves, very vitriolic, very, why is he on my television kind of reaction, while you and I just love him. And my heart broke for him when he suffered his second concussion, because we live in an age in the world of sports where, brain science and everything else has really shown how serious concussions are, and it's no laughing matter. I think WWE takes that very seriously. So it's just a shame that his career really got curtailed. But if he's coming out and saying, I'm throwing my hat back in the ring, I'm returning, they could make a great story of this, I think, if they wanted to. At the same token, not getting ahead of ourselves, if it is him retiring and just making it formal and official, I do hope he does stick around as a trainer and maybe, helps him in the speech classes and stuff like that, because I think Corey Graves has a lot to offer regardless. But I'm very intrigued what he's going to have to say come this live special, because it's really something I've been thinking about quite a bit lately.
Yeah. It's really, I wish that I could say with more conviction what I think it's going to be, but I genuinely have no clue.
It's, I'm sorry. Uh, it's just, if he does return, I would have to imagine that's probably going to be as a babyface. And see, like, another thing is, if he does return, not saying that he couldn't do great things, because I have the utmost confidence in him, but it's just a shame that he had to get the second concussion when he did, because he was really, I think, starting to cement his role as that, like, that top heel, that really dangerous heel. And I mean, you and I have already had discussions on Twitter in the past about where we feel like Kevin Owens is going to fit in the mix, because I would love to see Corey Graves feud with Sami Zayn down the road, and maybe they could still do it. But I don't know. I don't know if that ship has necessarily sailed. So it's all really in Corey Graves' court now.
Yeah,
So
honestly, if I had to guess, I think it's probably going to be his retirement from in-ring competition.
yeah,
I hope it's not, and I think that really it's just the Corey Graves fan in me that is thinking maybe he's announcing a return to in-ring competition. But realistically, I think there's a very strong possibility that it's going to be his retirement speech.
I mean, here's my thing, Ash, and this is going to be the last thing that I want to say about it, and then we can get back to the matches on this card. The only reason I think that it might not be, right, is because it's been so low key, like him not being on the product. They haven't made a production about it until now.
Yeah, it's definitely
And
curious because normally if somebody retires, they kind of announce it when it happens.
right, right. And here's my thing, like, no offense to Corey Graves or Corey Graves fans. I mean, hell, I am one. I love what the guy does. But I never really felt like he was a big enough player where you make a production out of something like this. I think they would have just been content keeping it under the rug and just going about business. So the idea that they're bringing this to light, having him on the pre-show, he's got this announcement to make, that's the only stock I'm putting in him saying, yeah, I'm going to give it one more go and I'm going to make this one count.
Yeah.
So here's to hoping, man, really.
And you know what? My only thought is if he does come back, number one thing is I hope he stays healthy enough to continue his career for how long he wants to. And number
Right.
two, man, I hope he gets that NXT championship.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Like that's my biggest qualm is like, how is he going to return? Because I'd have to think he'd do it as a babyface, but I would hope that he would
No,
stay
I
heel.
see, and you say that, but realistically, I could see him being a babyface just long enough for his return to kind of garner that, oh, welcome back, Corey, kind of pop, and then within a week or two going back to heel because he's just the character. Really, everything about him is a heel. Like he's tried being babyface before. I don't know. I think that this was while you were on your hiatus because at one point he was a babyface. It was him and Cassius Ohno, and they were a weird babyface tag team of two guys that were heels that turned babyface because the crowd loved them and it just didn't work. He just wasn't a good babyface. And really, I think that he needs to stay heel, even if it means being babyface just long enough to break the crowd's heart as a heel.
I'm telling you, man, I want him to be Sami Zayn's second feud, but we're going to talk about all those main event implications when we get to it. So, yeah, I'm glad we had that little discussion on Graves because I really wanted to get that off my chest. So, if you have anything else to say, we can get back on track with the actual card.
I do want, because we're still kind of speculating on matches that we don't know are going to happen that might happen. Why is Tyson Kidd not on the show?
You know, being serious and being, objective, I really don't know.
And really, more importantly, well, maybe not more importantly, but along those same lines, why is Tyler Breeze not on this show?
That actually, and you know I love Tyson Kidd to death, but Tyler Breeze is what's far more alarming to me because man has his stock fallen lately, and I don't know what happened, dude. Like, what is going on with Tyler Breeze? He's still a great character. He's still great in the ring, so it's not him personally that's regressed. I'm just saying the extraneous factors like
You know
his
what? Are
stock
we
has
maybe
dropped.
going to get a Tyler Breeze versus Marcus Louis match?
Maybe. I mean, maybe this will be Marcus Louis' redemption against Tyler Breeze. But see, then, and I'm sorry, like, I'm really trying hard, right? Not to be biased, because I pride you and I on being able to have objective discussions, but I really don't like the idea of Marcus Louis beating Tyler Breeze. I mean, I get that he would almost have to, because Tyler Breeze really embarrassed him big time on NXT and got that squash. But, I mean, here was Tyler Breeze, a guy who I legitimately thought was going to be NXT champion this year at one point. And
Well,
now
maybe
he's not even
maybe
the
they
top
get a
item.
match set up between the two of them, and Marcus Louis just absolutely freaks out and gets himself disqualified. It doesn't have to have a clean finish.
Maybe it's just, man, I'm looking for Tyler Breeze to get back on track somehow. I
Well,
mean,
I mean,
yeah,
at this point, I think if Sami Zayn does win the NXT title, which obviously, I mean, I could transition right now, but I still want us to have a discussion about it. So I think that I am going to be predicting Zayn to win. But um, I think his first feud, and again, it all comes down to, and because here's another thing, Kevin Owens is going to be debuting on this show. But the question
right.
is he going to be debuting to close the show, or is he going to be debuting in a match, or both? There's a very distinct possibility he could do both. He could
Right.
have a match against, say, oh, I don't know, maybe Tyson Kidd, and beat him, and then later in the night, Sami Zayn wins the NXT title, and then Kevin Owens comes out and destroys him.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I could definitely see that happening. You know what option I prefer because we've talked about that on Twitwows. I think you should save Kevin Owens' debut for the closer. But going back to Tyler and Tyson, I mean Tyson I think has a story in his back pocket because you and I mean, it's no secret. We're predicting that Sami Zayn is becoming the next NXT champion. Let's not forget that that immediately puts Tyson Kidd back in title contention because he couldn't
Yeah.
challenge for the title as long as Neville was champion. So
Yeah.
they have that story in their back pocket if
So
they
then we
want.
have Owens, we have uh, Kid. We have potentially Itami and or Balor. And now you're trying to throw Tyler Breeze into the mix too. I just don't think that Breeze is as great as he is. I don't think he's in any of those guys' league right now.
And see, that's the shame of it, Ashton, because you mentioned those guys, and I you know how much I love Tyler Breeze. It's killing me to even say this right now, but it really does go back to that song. One of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong.
And
And
honestly, if you would
yeah,
look at those 5 guys, I think that it's more 2 that are not like the other and don't belong, and it would be Breeze and Kid.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But Kid has just been on such a roll, and he's probably the best pure heel on NXT right now.
Definitely.
So I think that even though he's kind of in the same category as Breeze in that he's not really in the same league as those other guys from a pure entertainment standpoint, I do think that he would probably make them, like, if it's not going to be Owens, I would want it to be Kid to be Zayn's first contender.
Right.
Like, that would make the most sense between the whole stipulation that he can't contend for the title while Neville has it, and then the fact that he is kind of like Sami Zayn's ultimate detractor other than Neville himself. It just kind of all clicks at that point. So again, I think my number one choice is Owens, just because we already know what they can do together, and I honestly, like, that would be a dream kind of, because that happening in WWE is ridiculous to me.
Right.
But my number 2 choice would be Kid. I think number 3 would be Breeze, though.
Yeah, we just gotta like have him find his footing again, because I'm telling, it's not anything with him personally. I can't stress that enough. I think it's just with this influx of talent and Breeze just kind of cooling down, especially after his amazing performance and really everybody's amazing performance at NXT Takeover Fatal 4-Way. He just really, I think, has just been kind of out of the loop. It almost makes me wish, with all these NXT roster members, getting these main roster spots, like these exhibition matches, like Charlotte most recently got one on the Slammy Raw. I kind of want Tyler Breeze to have a turn just by himself.
Yeah.
Just to kind of remind everybody, like, this is who I am, and kind of show that personality for the live
I'm
crowd.
telling
and
you, man.
Engage how it reacts.
I know everybody loves this new theme music of his, and you mark out for it, and everyone talks about, oh, he sings his own theme music. He's just like Shawn Michaels, but I think that's what killed his momentum. I really do. Like, I know people are going to say, oh, simple change in theme music can't kill all your momentum. There's more than that, but I genuinely think that is the number one problem, because when he had that, it was called Sexy Dirty Fun. That was his original theme. And he had that pace back and forth at the top of the ramp, and then the turn and the blue steel at the top of the ramp. It was very cinematic, and he doesn't have that anymore. That's like they took, like with Adam Rose, where they took away World Goes Wild and gave him this breakaway theme song. They took something away from him that made him what he was, that got him where he was. And I think when they did that, it really genuinely did hurt Tyler Breeze's momentum, because as much as everyone was like, oh, wow, this theme is so amazing, he's doing it himself and it makes him seem like such a douche. And it does, and I understand that, but it's not something that gets you excited. When that music hits, you're not like, oh, yes, Tyler Breeze. You're just like, oh, okay, Tyler Breeze, let's go.
Here's my thing, dude. It's weird because I don't entirely disagree with you, right? Because I was even going to bring up the case of Adam Rose to prove your point, because he came in hot out of the box. People were going crazy for his theme.
To this day, the only person in NXT history to get a "This is awesome" chant on his first entrance, on his debut.
Yeah, absolutely. But my thing
and he hasn't gotten one since.
Yeah, at least in my opinion, to a degree, I think your reasoning is also a bit of a reach, because I still have to say that I think it's just him really getting lost in the shuffle and losing momentum that way.
Okay, let me ask you one more question, John.
Yeah.
Does Breeze still have the live feed of his cell phone on the Titantron?
I don't think he does he?
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's another thing that got This Is Awesome chance. That was his second entrance ever on NXT, and it got This Is Awesome chance.
I'm telling you, man, I don't know why, they tamper with a good thing, but I think even so, like, I do enjoy the theme. I know many others that do. I just think it's a matter of, and it's like I said.
I think the biggest problem, I'm sorry, you know what? I need to stop cutting you off. You finish your thought and then I'll.
Oh, no, dude, it's totally fun, because I love when we really get into these discussions. I was just going to say that it's really like I said about Team Thick. you've just got to start caring about the guys again. And I think that's all it really takes for a turnaround. I don't feel like they're caring about Tyler Breeze as much as they used to because of this influx of talent. Because it's like, oh, Tyler, you're good. But we have Balor, Itami, and then Kevin freaking Owens, dude. I mean, and I hate to say this to Tyler, but we were just talking about both him and Kid, but Kid's got the whole story in his back pocket. When you have Kevin freaking Owens come into the WWE, the vignettes have been phenomenal. The stories surrounding him have been phenomenal. Oh, God, can you say it, John? Tyler Breeze is kind of looking like old news a little bit, and it sucks. It really sucks. So now I can give the ball to you. What did you want to say?
I think the biggest problem with some of the decisions that have been made regarding Tyler Breeze's entrance are that they're taking away some of the scalability. And when I say scalability, I mean when something has incredible scalability, it's something that works really well in a small venue like the Full Sail Arena, but you can imagine it working just as well, if not better, in Madison Square Garden or in like a huge stadium. And I just imagine WWE having like a WrestleMania at the new Cowboy Stadium and having Tyler Breeze's cell phone feed over the gigantic monitors in the middle of the field and him doing his freaking catwalk thing at the top of the ramp and then making his way down to the ring. But now that he doesn't have the feed and he doesn't have the sexy dirty fun and the entrance and all that stuff, it's like I just can't imagine Tyler Breeze at that kind of venue anymore.
Well, I mean, and I think it raises a much bigger point that I think a lot of people either know but aren't necessarily fans of, or just really begrudgingly like have a hard time to accept. And that's that wrestling in and of itself, it is an aesthetic to a degree. Like it is about that imagery, it is about that atmosphere. You know, you can have two guys go bell to bell for 30 minutes and it'd be great, but I think it's about that aura you create. I mean, what I instantly think of, Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, their first WrestleMania match at I think it was 25, and you had Michaels come out one promo, you know, wearing the trench coat and hat, but in all white. Taker coming through the ring. You know, they created an atmosphere, and on a much different scale, mind you, Tyler Breeze had that atmosphere too with his theme music and his catwalk, and I think it's memorable.
And
You
the
know,
live
it's
feed. I
very
think
memorable,
that might be
and
the
the
most
live feed.
important thing,
Yeah,
that live feed.
yeah, that live feed. You know, because here's the thing: it's distinct, and in an era, well, that's really what wrestling is. I can't just say in this era because you could go way, way back. There's
In a
so many
business.
things in a business. Yes, in a business, there are so many things that get recycled, and naturally so. I don't even say that as a negative. That's just the nature of the beast. But with so many things that get recycled, here comes a guy like Tyler Breeze that says, okay, well, I'm going to take something that's really relevant to popular culture, you know, something that's a phenomenon, and I'm going to take it where at first people are probably going to really hate me for it, get annoyed with me by it because I'm not wrestling, which I did on Tyler Breeze's debut when he was so absorbed with the phone and everything. I was like, oh my God, come on, just get on with it. And make people fall in love with me, even though I'm a heel, which is the crazy part. And then they kind of tamper with his identity a little bit. And then we're at the point where he's not even on this show when just, I mean, the last show was Fatal 4-Way, correct? That
Yeah.
was the last show
Yeah.
before that.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
last show before this, he was in the main event for the World Championship.
Yep.
Like, what a
And he
freaking
didn't get
drop.
pinned.
And he didn't get pinned. Tyson Kidd ate the pin. Uh,
And
like,
Tyson Kidd has made himself more relevant over the last 3 months than Breeze has.
what a freaking drop, man. Like, I
Yeah.
just realized that. Like, if that doesn't make it click with you, how much Tyler Breeze's stock has dropped, then I give up. Because that, I think, says everything. Wow.
Yep. Crazy, right?
Yeah, all right, man. I mean, anything else you want to talk about as like from a speculation standpoint, or
No, I
yeah,
think speculation is over. Let's get into our big three championship matches. Let's start with the women's championship. I fully suspect this is going to be in the middle of the card. Charlotte versus Sasha Banks. And again, I also fully expect that we will have Bayley and Becky Lynch at ringside.
yeah, yeah, I could expect that too. And you have to wonder if Bayley is going to maybe have that screw up kind of finish where she caused Charlotte, which is something that's kind of crossed my mind a little bit. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me rewind and just give these two women all the praise in the world. I love the story going into this matchup because, you know, it started with the beautifully fierce females that was started by Summer Rae, Alex Riley. Sasha Banks was into, yeah, get your facts straight. Jesus, I could do your job. And that's
Dude,
really
I
sad.
I really have been happy with the way that Alex Riley's commentary has progressed, but that's still my number one irk is
Yeah.
that just that one thing. I'm not even trying to say that that falls into some greater pattern that he does that's wrong that I hate, like JBL with his constantly burying talent and cheering for baby faces even though he's supposed to be a heel. Alex Riley, just that one thing. Just, dude, Sasha Banks did not start the BFF. Summer Rae did. You just don't want to acknowledge it because Summer Rae's not around anymore, and she's irrelevant on the main roster.
Yeah. And, exactly. It's him that does that, and then Jason Albert with the vaudevillians. God, I want to punch him in the face, but we'll get to him
It's
later.
not just, dude. It's not just the vaudevillians with him. It's also Charlotte.
Oh my God.
I didn't know
Oh,
that Charlotte. I didn't know that Charlotte became a tiny onion overnight.
um, but yeah, I really love the story here, dude, because for guys like me that love to read too deeply and everything and probably think that every storyline in some way, shape, or form connects to the Matrix, like that's how deep
Dude,
it
if
goes.
that's the qualifier, that's wrestling fans. That's not just you.
Yeah, because I mean, so many layers to this. You have Summer Rae and Sasha start this. Summer bringing Sasha into the fold, lighting the fire underneath her. Then Charlotte comes in because she wants to get ahead. Ironically enough, turning on Bailey, which honestly, that's my biggest contention with this whole thing. Why has that not been addressed thoroughly enough? Like, I feel like that never really got brought back out into the open again after they did it. Charlotte turns on Bailey. She joins their ranks. She wins the championship. Her and Summer have a brief feud over it. That's great. They make the split. But Charlotte tells Sasha, we can still be best friends, the kind that say hello to each other in the hallway. I think Sasha's kind of becoming a female Scott Steiner-esque for me with some of her lines because it just really connects with me. But,
Wait,
we
wasn't it Charlotte that said that? Not
yeah, that's
Sasha.
what I'm saying. Like she's becoming like Scott Steiner-esque a little bit for me because she just
Oh,
says things.
because you said Sasha was becoming Scott
Oh,
Steiner.
oh, did I? I meant Charlotte. My apologies.
Yeah.
But then you have Sasha left on her own, and she's racking up those wins, finally getting the recognition that she deserves as definitely one of the top female heels since Charlotte, I guess, turned babyface after beating Natalia, which that was really weird. Um, then she brings Becky Lynch into the fold, and we begin the process of this all over again. It's so circle of life. It's ridiculous. And then we come here, and in between all that, we have Bailey have two unsuccessful bids at capturing the NXT Women's Championship. And I just feel like all these forces have come together for this one-on-one match that I have been waiting for forever. And that is Charlotte versus Sasha. And my biggest thing, I want this match to get time. I want this
Yeah.
match to get 10 to 15 minutes.
And especially after that abortion of a match that we got on Raw between Charlotte and Natalia, you
Yeah.
need this match to get time more than anything.
You know what I want? You know what I want? I want these two to have their match, and then after the fact, it's a shame because everybody almost seems to become babyface after winning the NXT Women's Championship, and I wouldn't want that to happen here. But I wouldn't mind if Charlotte looked at the camera and been like, "See, Raw, that's what I can do," and just shove it in their
And you know
face.
what really sucks too is that Raw is the one with the 4 million people audience,
Yeah,
whereas this show is going to be lucky to have 200,000 pairs of eyes on it.
exactly, exactly.
Because like now everyone's first impression of Charlotte is, oh, well, she lost an Italian 2 minutes. Who cares about her? She's just a rookie. She's irrelevant.
Exactly, and then I'm
And
sure.
by association, then all the other girls on NXT who aren't the champion are automatically worse than her too because they haven't beaten her for the title.
Yeah, yeah, it really is a domino effect, isn't it? I could picture some suit or maybe even Triple H, as much as I love what he's done with NXT or whoever, saying, "Well, Charlotte, you got to pay your dues. That's what it's all about." No, screw that. But yeah, I can really see these women going out there and owning it. You brought up a good point that you expect Becky Lynch and Bailey to have a presence in this match, and that's fine, but I hope it's very self-contained. I mean, if they have to get involved, fine, but don't overdo it. I just want these women to go out and really put to bed who the better, beautifully fierce female really is. I'm really looking forward to this. And now for the conclusion. It's Sasha's time, man. She has been on such a roll lately. I have been ready for a Sasha Banks NXT Women's Championship reign for quite some time now. I don't want to wait anymore. Sasha Banks beats Charlotte, becomes the new champion.
Yeah, and I gotta say, after seeing her with the title around her waist on this past episode of NXT, I like the look and I want to see it more.
Yeah, so you're ready. I mean, you and I think, are really chomping at the bit at this point, almost as much as Sami Zayn. Just got to keep that in the forefront. But yeah, I mean, this is Sasha's time. In that same segment, it's funny you mentioned that because I felt like she had the promo of her life, like really giving it to Charlotte, owning the NXT crowd. I mean, she knows who she is. She has the confidence in her delivery. I feel like Bayley's stock has really fallen. I mean, didn't mean to take a pot shot at Bayley there, but just to make the point that I think where Bayley has fallen, Sasha has really stepped up. I think everything is in place for Sasha to become the new champion.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's yet another match that we completely agree on.
Yeah, there you go.
Are we
Sasha
gonna? I
gets
think we're gonna be completely unanimous throughout this whole show. Up next, though, let's talk about John's personal favorite match that he's looking forward to: the Lucha Dragons versus the Vaudevillains.
I know it seems a bit weird because I'm the one really looking forward to this match, but I felt like I really drilled on for that NXT Women's Championship contest. So I want you to get your thoughts out first for this tag match, the build, and just everything else. Like, what are you thinking about this?
Honestly, I feel like the build has been really rushed for this. I feel like the Vaudevillains were kind of like that middle of the road tag team, and then all of a sudden NXT just decided, well, we need somebody for the Lucha Dragons at the next show. Let's turn up the heel factor for the Vaudevillains, turn them into real villains, and we'll see what happens. And they did, and I've thoroughly enjoyed some of the vignettes that we've gotten from the Vaudevillains because of the whole like 20s silent film style stuff that they've been doing. That's been great. But that doesn't convince me that they're going to stand any more of a chance against the Lucha Dragons. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy some of the work that the Vaudevillains have done, but I am not the biggest fan of theirs in the ring. And at the end of the day, regardless of how much of a fan I am of theirs, they're not beating the Lucha Dragons.
Oh, and I'm so glad you capped off on that because let me make one thing explicitly clear right now. Vaudevillains are not winning this.
No.
They're not. And the thing is, like, I love the Vaudevillains to death. And would I mark out huge if they won the tag titles? You bet your sweet bottom I would, without question. It's just not happening. Okay, I could sit under the Christmas tree and be like, I hope Santa brings me, insert item here. It's not happening. Just like this isn't happening. And the reason for that is really simple. As great as I feel like the Vaudevillains have been in that heel role, and I want to touch on that a little bit more in a second, the Lucha Dragons are where it's at right now in the tag team division.
Yeah.
I mean, the hottest commodity. How many times have I said, and I'm asking both the audience and Ashton here, that when these guys come into the main roster, and they should come up together, I cannot stress that enough, their merchandise is going to sell like hotcakes.
You know what, John?
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with you that they should come up together.
Wow.
And the main reason I say that is because the casual fan has already clicked. They've already associated Sin Cara with irrelevance and failure. And I don't want Kalisto to be associated with somebody who's associated with that.
Yeah, that's a shame for both Kalisto and Hunico.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah. I would absolutely mark out if this got both Kalisto and Hunico a spot on the main roster. I would love it. I would lose my mind. And you know that they're entertaining enough to be in tag title contention. I mean, you put them up against the Usos, and I think that we'll learn pretty quickly that the Usos aren't a freaking high-flying tag team.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm sorry, because I know there are people that really love the Usos, but seeing Lucha Dragons and seeing, other teams like we just recently did ROH live reactions and we saw the Young Bucks in a matchup, like the Usos are a joke by comparison.
And what's great about the Lucha Dragons is, to me, I'm not going to say the hottest, but one of the two hottest promotions in North America right now, Lucha Underground, is entirely represented by this team alone.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I imagine if these two guys were free agents and not in WWE, they would be two of the top 3 to 5 guys in Lucha Underground. Kalisto would be Prince Puma. He would be that guy. He would be the guy that they build their friggin' company around.
Dude, Kalisto. And see, that's the thing, because here's the thing. I'm not even going to be very contentious with you about will he come up on his own or will he come up with Hunico, because here's the thing, dude. It doesn't matter. Like, he is
Yeah.
going to kill it regardless, because
Yeah.
Kalisto to me, and I know, like, I am one of those guys, I try and stray away from the comparisons, but in terms of, I'm not going to say, like, career or anything like that, but in terms of, like, merch sales and that marketability and that crowd reaction, he is going to be filling that gap that Rey Mysterio will inevitably leave. I mean, it's only a matter of time before he takes his ball and go and does his business, which is fine. But that's why I think Kalisto, he may be already getting prepped to come up. I don't know how long he's going to stay down here. Yes, he's the tag team champion with Sin Cara, but I don't know how long that's going to last. I certainly think it's going to last long enough to get beyond this show and beating the Vaudevillains. But I mean, you've got your next big attraction right here in Kalisto, and it is insane. But you know, to praise the Vaudevillains for a second, I do love what NXT management kind of did here, because I think, again, with the Ascension wrapped up with Itami and Balor, they said, okay, well, now we need heels, and so they changed the Vaudevillains theme, which, by the way, now that the full version's been released and I've been able to listen to it a few times, it has grown on me like I thought it would. But it's such a great theme because it's sinister, it's more dark, whereas
It
the
kind of
other
reminds
theme,
me of Samoa Joe's theme from TNA.
yeah, and you know what? It fits perfectly too, because the name of it is Vaudeville, which is French, and when you translate it to English, comes out to Voice City, which I think is just so perfect. But the previous theme, you know, like people were clapping along to it, doing this and that. No, when you want to be straight up heels that are legitimate and get stuff done, you don't need the crowd. Your message is, I don't need you to go in and get business done. I've loved that they changed the theme, and again, it has grown on me. I've loved the vignettes that they've done, and I want more of those for whatever purpose, because it fits and it works. Um, so yeah, they're doing everything right. It's just not their time right now. Lucha
Yeah.
Dragons are the focus, and I'd have to be a fool to say otherwise. Again, I'm putting the fan to bed. I would mark out if the Vaudevillains won, but we come here to have legitimate discussions and be realistic, and the reality is Kalisto is going to be a supernova,
Yeah.
and it's not going to stop here.
I mean, you
Uh,
look at how overbooked Rey Mysterio was in his prime and realize that the WWE is going to have a fountain of youth plus some for Rey Mysterio in the form of Kalisto. Because you look at everything that Rey Mysterio is able to do in the ring, Kalisto can do it faster. Kalisto can do it with more air. Kalisto can do more things. Kalisto is Rey Mysterio 2.0, and he is the improved model.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, Kalisto is that torchbearer of the luchador of WWE,
Yeah.
and I just think
And
they're
honestly, dude, I'm genuinely surprised that he hasn't been called up already because of how huge of a spot that is and how desperate over the course of the last, Jesus, 5 years, the WWE has been to find a replacement for Rey Mysterio as somebody that they can market towards the Mexican fan base.
I mean, let's put this in perspective for everybody, because Ashton had a great soundbite just a few seconds earlier saying that Kalisto is going to be that fountain of youth, you know, for Rey Mysterio and everything he represents. I just looked it up. He's 28 years old.
Yeah.
You realize how much mileage we're going to get out of this? You realize what's going to happen when he's unleashed on the main roster? Jesus! Like, it blows my mind, and that's why it's practically an imperative that these guys win and they go on their tear with the NXT tag team titles, because I want the best possible vignettes made for when they're ready to bring this guy up to the main
How
roster.
old do you think Rey Mysterio was when he debuted?
He debuted in 2002, so if we compared his current age and dialed the clock back, I'm maybe even early 30s, maybe. I don't know. Let me look up, because he's 39 now. So you
Yep.
dial it back 12 years. So yeah, he was 27 then. He was
28. 28.
20. Well, okay, same age as Kalisto is now.
Exactly.
Wow. Wow. That just, yeah.
And hey, maybe Kalisto can manage to preserve his knees.
I hope so,
Because
dude.
you've got to imagine that if Ray had done a better job of protecting his knees, he'd probably still be going.
I would have to think so,
I
definitely.
mean, he's going to try whenever he can get out of his WWE contract. He's going to try and continue going on Lucha Underground, or at least in AAA in Mexico.
Yeah, that I won't even really. I mean, of course, I wish him the best, but I don't even know how advised that is given his health history and his medical history. But one more comment I do want to make as far as the match itself, I do think this will be a phenomenal tag team match. I did just want to get that across. I think it's a
Man, see, I wish I could be like all in on like, yes, absolutely, it's going to be amazing, but I don't know how capable of putting on an awesome match the Vaudevillains are.
I'd see, like, that's kind of what I've been waiting for, right? Because I can totally see what you're saying, because I feel like what they do is good, but I don't really think they've ever really been tested in that prolonged kind of matchup. And I hope that
And
they
you know
get.
what, though? I will say this, even though they've never been tested in that prolonged matchup, is there a better opponent to do that against?
Exactly, and that's what I'm
Because,
saying.
like, I mean, literally, they could just sell all match long, sell the Lucha Dragons offense, and it would be a great match.
It would be. And here's the thing: I almost feel like this match needs to get that kind of time, because one of the biggest selling points of this match is, well, the Lucha Dragons are the only ones to ever beat the Vaudevillains, and that's something
Other
that
way
has to be
around.
remembered. No, no, I got it right. The Lucha Dragons are the only ones that have ever beaten the Vaudevillains. Lucha
Are they
Dragons have never
really?
lost. Yeah, we had.
Well, that's just because the Vaudevillains have never faced the Ascension.
Well, I mean, yeah, well, here's the thing, dude. We had that debate before, because you were like, "Don't you mean the other way around?" And that was in the tag team tournament for who was going to get the title
Yeah.
shot against the Ascension. They both made it to the finals, and Lucha Dragon snuffed them out. So this is kind of, the return bid, the revenge of the Vaudevillains, if you will. And I do hope they get that time, and they bring the fight to them and make it a closer call, by the skin of the Lucha Dragon's teeth, and they really make it that kind of an affair. I don't want this to be another exhibition match. To be honest, I'll be a little bit miffed if it is, but I don't think it will be. I really think this will be a great matchup. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, honestly, it's not so much I'm just looking forward to this match as it is I just look forward to every time the Lucha Dragons like compete. Like I feel like they're hardly ever on, and when they are, it's a treat.
Yeah, definitely.
The Lucha Dragons are the Brock Lesnar's of NXT.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think after they move on from the Vaudevillains, I hope Team Thick is their next program. But that's just my personal bid.
Yeah.
But yeah, this will be a nice little conclusion to this
Or
feud here.
maybe Tommy and Balor.
Maybe, but see, like that I feel like they're holding back on just a little bit. It's gonna come. I just don't know if it's gonna come that soon. So we'll have to wait and see.
All right. Well, it's time. It's time. Our main event of the evening: Adrian Neville, Sami Zayn, NXT Championship. If Sami Zayn loses, he's leaving NXT.
Let me ask you something, Ashton, right out of the gate.
Yes.
A more innocuous question, I suppose, before we really get into the discussion. Are you disappointed at all that this match didn't carry a heavier kind of stipulation? Outside of Sami Zayn's own little existential crisis, I'm talking like that we didn't get the TLC stipulation that you thought we would, or
No.
anything like that. Does that disappoint you any? No.
No.
I think that really speaks to how great this story has been then, because I think Sami Zayn has been phenomenal here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, realistically, I could say Sami Zayn's carried it, but I don't think that it's possible to have this good of a story without both sides participating and being good at it. And even though less has been asked of Adrian Neville, he's fulfilled his duty incredibly well. I don't think that there's anybody that pulls off passive aggressive douchebag that thinks he's a nice guy than Adrian Neville.
yeah, yeah, and that was the exact term I was going to use. His passive aggressive tendencies towards Sammy have been wonderful, and really being audacious enough to tell Sami Zayn to his face, I think we're going to have a great match, but just remember, Sammy, you can't win the big one. Like,
Yeah, and that's
wow.
kind of the thing. He every time he talks, if he ever says, "Oh, I would be happy to face Sami Zayn," he can never leave it at that. Every time he brings that up, before he stops talking, he has to specify, because I know he can't win the big one.
Yeah, yeah. I love this story here. I feel like, and I've said it before, Sami Zayn has really proven to me through this arc, particularly with Adrian Neville, the kind of babyface that I wish John Cena was more of. That was one of the sound bites I had on one of our NXT Twitwout reviews. Because in the closing segment on the Go Home NXT before our Evolution, he's just sick of it, man. I mean, he's fed up. He says he has to win. Very aggressive towards Neville. Even not only refuses, rebukes the advances of Adrian Neville's handshake, he slaps Adrian Neville in the face and says, "I'm taking your NXT title. It's your reign that ends. It's your book that gets closed, not mine." And I love it because I feel like Sami Zayn acting that way and having the crowd receive him well because of that fact just shows how authentic the connection really is.
Yeah.
It's marvelous, man, to know that a babyface can exist and be vulnerable and have flaws and still say to the world through his actions of persevering and never giving up, and not in a cheesy way. And to
That's the
say that
best
that's
part. Sami Zayn has basically the same gimmick as John Cena. He's just not a douche about it.
He's not. He's because, dude, the thing is, you know what makes you a douche about it? And this is what I've said about Cena, and I have to say it again because I really want to drive it home. It's when you acknowledge that it's when you don't acknowledge that the sky's falling, right? Like, even when he lost to The Rock the first time around and he's just sitting on the stage looking all forlorn, I'll admit, like, he did a nice sell job. But then he beats Brock Lesnar a month later at Extreme Rules. Now, granted, I still say that Brock beat Brock, but I digress. It's just the matter that Cena got back on track just 1 month later. Sami Zayn can't catch a break. And that's where this story really resonates with me, because in any other story, you think, oh, well, the hero didn't get it the first time, so he'll get it the second time, for the climax. But Sami Zayn has been here so many times that it just wears on you, man. And you just think, man, Sami Zayn has seen something. And every time he loses, that look on his face, you think, is he going to compromise himself? And the fact that he doesn't, but he's honest about the fact that he's sick of it, just makes me love him all the more.
Yep.
Because he's honest. He's not going to take a steel chair to the back of Adrian Neville, but he's not going to kiss his ass either. He's
Yep.
saying, look, I'm sick right now that I can't do this. I need this. And I don't need you pandering to me, telling me that we're going to have a great match and do this. Screw off, because I'm ending your reign. But he doesn't jump him after that. No, he lets the words sink in because he knows he can do it, and we know he can too. And he is just my favorite babyface going right now. I'll even go the farthest possible level. I think he's even a better babyface to a degree than even a Daniel Bryan. And I love Daniel Bryan to death, but I think Sami Zayn has
Well,
this.
and it's, you know what, it all really, I don't think you would have said that before WrestleMania, but then at WrestleMania, he overcame every imaginable odd, and a lot of people compared his run to something that would have happened to Cena. Like, if Cena would have done that, everyone would have complained, but because it was Bryan and he's more beloved, then he got away with it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't stress this word enough, and it's just the word that keeps popping in my head when talking about Sami Zayn. He really is. He's got an authenticity to him about a babyface. He seems more like you and me than any other babyface I have seen in years. And I love it, man. I love it. Like, I root for Sami Zayn every time, with the exception of Kid, because, cats and facts. But Sami Zayn is, in all seriousness, it's beautiful, man. It's why I love wrestling, is to watch guys as passionate and as into what they're doing as Sami Zayn. And the funny thing is, and this is where I'm going to hand the ball to you, because this guy has really been the architect of this whole thing from the beginning, because the hilarious thing is, we're both predicting that he's going to win. But if things go your way, because you've been espousing it from the beginning, he's still going to get shit on when the show closes.
Yep.
Like, what the heck?
Dude, that's exactly what makes it work, though, is just when you think he's finally overcome everything that there is, another obstacle shows up.
Dude, I'm sorry, man, but if I'm Sami Zayn and I just got the haluva kick, I get the cover, the confetti's raining, I'm crying, I got the title, and then the lights go out and I see Kevin Owens' face on the Titantron, I'm just sighing to myself and I'm thinking, God damn it, man, just one show. Just one show. Can I have this one? And then it just like Kevin Owens is behind him. And you know what? Sammy doesn't even try and fight it. He just kind of throws his arms up and he's like, well, taking one for the team. Turns around right into that right hand and he just eats the beating. Just
Yep.
like, what the heck, man? Poor Sami Zayn. Oh, God. But yeah, I mean, let's talk about that seriously for a second. Are you still sticking to your guns if that's how Kevin Owens is going to debut? What do you think the reaction is going to be
You know
like?
what, dude? It's kind of the same thing with the New Day. I hope that's how he debuts, but I would not be super surprised if we were watching it and just randomly his music hit and he came out and had a squash match against someone.
See,
And that would be super duper disappointing, but it would also be par for the course.
Yeah, it's difficult for me, right? Because I don't want to take NXT to task for that, because it's not like they're doing anything inherently wrong. I just think my problem with that is when you give Kevin Owens the time that you have to construct this story and tell his story very honestly and name drop the Rollins, the Nevilles, the Zanes, and go on that path. I think it's a huge disservice to have him really speak from the heart that way, only to have him squash some no name and then go to the back. Like he has the foundation. Now he needs to make the impact where everybody knows the name Kevin Owens. They do. That they absolutely do. I feel like they have the chance to create an explosion with Kevin Owens if they do it your way, because I loved how you painted the picture the first time when we talked about it. But I fear partially that it's just going to end up being a whimper in that squash match. And it'll be fine. It'll be passable. But when has NXT ever settled for being passable? I feel like if they don't go this route,
It seems like more recently that's what they've been doing.
But maybe it's just kind of laying the groundwork for that explosion. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that my thing is I feel as though since the first time that we saw NXT talents on Raw, that tag team match involving Zayn, Neville, Kid, and Breeze, I feel like since then, a lot of stuff on NXT has been watered down.
Would you name like maybe a few things so I can join more in the discussion? Because
I think we can start with Tyler Breeze's theme.
Yeah.
And entrance.
Yeah.
I think we can say that the commentary, specifically the fact that Rich Brennan is a thing.
Yeah.
I think that all of a sudden now Charlotte Flair is a babyface.
Yeah.
When she was the hottest heel going into that show.
That is very true.
It just feels like kind of since the NXT talent showed up on the main roster show, now it's starting to feel like Vince maybe has a little bit more of a hand on NXT.
Which is hilarious because of the report that you and I read a few months ago was accurate, which you can never stress enough to take those things with a grain of salt anyway. Vince McMahon wasn't even watching NXT at one point. He didn't have his pulse at all on this product, which I think is a disgrace. But I can see where you're coming from. And I just hope, man. I just really hope. Because, see, here's the thing. I feel like they handled Itami perfectly when they had, William Regal make the introduction and then the Ascension try and interrupt them, and he takes care of the Ascension by himself. And you have both him and Regal have this look on their face like, yeah, kicking ass. It's great. With Kevin Owens, I feel like he needs that extra oomph. He needs to assault Sami Zayn. They need to immediately reference that history and that relationship. Because I think it'll instantly make Kevin Owens that top heel. It won't waste any time, pussyfooting around like, oh, does he know what he's doing? Of course he does. And he'll especially know what he's doing against the likes of a Sami Zayn. Like I want to see it. I know you want to see it. I think everybody and their mother wants to see it. The question is it going to happen Thursday night on our Evolution?
Oh man, I hope so. I think that's gonna be kind of the theme of the night is I hope, because I hope Sasha wins. I hope that Sami Zayn wins. I hope that we get a really good competitive match out of the Ascension, Hideo Itami and Finn Balor rather than a squash match. I hope that Kevin Owens debuts by assaulting the newly crowned NXT champion rather than just having a random match. There's a lot of hope going into this, and while previously NXT has been really good at fulfilling at least like a majority of my hopes going into shows like this, I have a weird feeling that this is going to fall flat, man.
I hope not, man. I mean, I would love to see these
I think,
guys
you know what it is?
soar
I
on this
think it's
show.
entirely to blame is the WWE just lately, just how bad they've been, and the fact that I kind of called my hopes being dashed with the New Day, and now I kind of feel like I have to do the same thing here. I should have higher expectations for NXT. I really should, but with the way the WWE's been going lately, I feel like I don't owe them that credit.
Right, right. It's crazy because I feel like every NXT live special in one form or another has delivered in a major way. Like you even
Yeah.
have people saying, and I don't blame them, that they are looking forward to our evolution more than they are TLC.
Well, you and I both are.
Yeah, you and I both are, and I know others on Pwetov are. That's the crazy thing. And for good reason, because if you look at the track record, you know, you have trust and confidence with your audience when you put out a good product. It's a radical concept, I know, but it works. And, you know, that's pretty much what NXT is. I can see your grievances lately because you've definitely put things in a somewhat different perspective for me. But I'm going to take that gamble, you know, because that's the biggest thing I want, you know, because, yeah, we laugh and we joke around a lot. And I, of course, won't mind the Lucha Dragons retaining because I love them. But the biggest thing I want is the same thing you want. I want Kevin Owens' debut to have that oomph, to have that bang, to have people say, oh, my God, I need to watch NXT
Yeah.
because there need to be more eyes on this product. And I think Kevin Owens can do it. And I'm not joking about that. I'm putting a lot of responsibility on this man's shoulders. I understand that. But I think this is huge. I think this is the one debut people have been looking forward to because it was Itami, Bauer, and Owens. Well, we got both Itami and Bauer, and they're
Oh,
great.
and one thing we haven't even talked about, highly rumored, Finn Balor is going to be wearing body paint.
Oh my God, yes, dude. That alone, I think is just gonna get a huge pop from me.
My
Yeah, see,
question
yeah.
though is, what will he be wearing?
Ooh, yeah. What design is he gonna go with?
He does like to stay topical. He does like to keep it recent. You know, he's not going to be wearing like Joker makeup because that's like so 5 years ago.
True, true. I don't know, because I know a lot of superhero movies are being churned out. You know,
How great would it be if he showed up as Drax the Destroyer?
yeah, I know, right? Oh man,
That would be perfect. An homage to Batista on the place that
and
originated better than
it would
Batista
get
Chance.
better than Batista Chance too.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, that would be perfect.
Oh my God, do it, do it. um, but yeah, like, see, that's the thing. We were looking forward to Bauer. I was only really looking forward to Prince Devitt after you gave me a crash course and showed me the body pain and what he can do. And now that I've seen him on NXT, like, oh my God, he is gonna go places. He's the
Dude,
one that I'm putting some stock.
like, that's to me what really separates him from Itami is that he just flat out gets the pageantry of pro wrestling.
He does. He really does. And keeping the focus here. So I see Bauer going places, right? Itami, I think, is going to do good because, listen, you and I, yes, we're very honest with our criticisms, but we always have to give the man this. I think he has a phenomenal work ethic from what I've read and what I've heard.
Yeah.
So
To me, here's my thing. Like, I want to just kind of sum it up really quickly. I feel like, despite the fact that I do believe that Hideo Itami could end up being the most successful Japanese wrestler in WWE history, it doesn't really take much to be able to claim that.
yeah.
Because Japanese wrestlers in WWE history really haven't done. I mean, unless you count, like Mr. Fuji, or I mean, Yokozuna. I don't think he was even Japanese though, was he?
I'm not sure. I thought he was,
Maybe he
but
was. Okay, well, I don't think he's gonna get that big. So I don't know. Maybe I should specify the most successful Japanese professional wrestler in WWE in the last 20 years. I don't know.
you know, well, it is. It's something that's been it's just been very, very difficult. to kind of carve out that space. I mean, everybody, I think, really did legitimately have high hopes for Yoshitatsu when he debuted, and that didn't work out.
Yokozuna was born in San Francisco, so
Yeah, it's crazy to think about, huh?
and he's actually not even billed as a Japanese wrestler. He's billed from Polynesia.
Yeah, so there you go.
So I can still say most successful Japanese wrestler of all time. And again, because of the fact that I can now discount Yokozuna from that pool, I can honestly say that it really does not take that much to be considered the most successful Japanese wrestler in WWE history, because who are you competing against? Kenzo Suzuki, Taka Michinoku? Like, seriously, if Hideo Itami wins 2 or 3 Intercontinental titles, right there, he's the most successful Japanese wrestler in WWE history.
Right. So we know, how we feel about Balor. We know how we feel about Itami. But again,
Balor, dude, I didn't even say what I feel about Balor. Balor, to me, has main event potential.
Yeah, completely agree.
I
Oh,
don't see
absolutely.
that in Itami, at least not yet.
Yeah, but again, like I'm not giving up on Itami. That guy has such a work ethic. He may get there. I'm not selling the stock yet, but I definitely see where you're coming from on both counts with these guys. But then we get, bringing it full circle to my point, we get Kevin Owens, and
Well, I thought we already talked about Kevin Owens.
well, I mean, I was finishing on my point and why I brought these
Oh,
guys up in the first place. So I'm kind of rounding my assertions out. I'm putting a lot on his shoulders because I think even with those two guys, I think I have the highest expectations for Owens, and that's pretty much my point. I think he's been the most anticipated debut for a lot of people. It's finally coming, and I think they need to take full advantage of it. So I hope they go your route or at least something comparable to it. And I hope they ride this gravy train because to me, I just see Kevin Owens really going places and really taking things by storm. So crossing my fingers because if it goes down that way, this will be one very memorable NXT show.
absolutely.
That's all I really got to say about that, man. Do you have any closing remarks?
You know what? I never thought I'd say this, but I kind of feel like Lucha Underground is a little bit of a road bump right now because I'm looking forward to this show so much.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait to get there.
Like
I am
I
just
love Lucha Underground, and the ladder match I'm sure is going to be amazing, but that's not in the NXT universe, and the NXT universe is all I care about right now.
Yeah, definitely. Completely agree. So, yeah, I guess with that said, you and I really have nothing else to say. Those have been our thoughts on NXT Evolution. So it's going to be an amazing show, I'm sure.
Absolutely. We will see you guys for our Lucha Underground review, and then on Thursday, the live
Yep.
actions.
Oh, man, it's going to be so good. You got to love it. We'll see you there, guys.